Today I'm behind it with a brand new 2021 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy. This is the newest trim level for the Palisade and it sits right above the Limited. So the Calligraphy is the top trim level now. And there are changes on the outside, there are changes on the inside. The Calligraphy is a little bit more luxurious than the Limited and costs a little bit more. So if you're interested, let's get started. There's a lot to cover. Starting with the outside, the new Calligraphy adds upon the big and sophisticated look of the Palisade. The bi-LED headlight design as well as the split daytime running light design is still there. However, there's an extra small square between the two sections where the daytime running light shines through. The grille design is also different and filled with diamond patterns. The lower bumper is also different and filled with a silver garnish matching the silver grille surround. The side of the Palisade Calligraphy is big and imposing just like the front. The way the aluminum window surrounds get cut does look a bit weird though. However, the color matches the aluminum door handles, the roof rails, and the door garnish. The Calligraphy comes with exclusive 20-inch alloy wheels. The back of the Palisade Calligraphy comes with a shark fin antenna, a large spoiler, unique looking LED taillights, and a differently styled lower bumper with more silver garnish. Also, the rear gets self-leveling suspension. The tailgate is powered and comes with a hands-free feature. Inside the trunk, the Calligraphy adds premium cargo sill plates that look and feel very good. The space behind the third row is among the largest for this class. There's a ton of hidden storage underneath the bottom cover. There is also a 12V outlet on the left side as well as switches for the power folding third and second row. Unfortunately, it does take a while for the third row to fold down and up. The second row folds down faster, but you have to manually fold them back up. With both rows of seats down, everything lays flat and there is a ton of cargo room. Moving to the second row, the seats are covered in beautiful Napa leather with quilted stitching. And on this Calligraphy, that quilted stitching is now matched on the door panels. Captain chairs are standard and there is a lot of space in between to move to the third row. There's also one touch button to fold the seats forward. Now the third row is among the biggest in the class too. With the second row seats up a little, I have a good amount of leg room. Each side also gets a USB port, power folding seat backs, cup holders, and vents on top. Back in the second row, passengers get climate controls, heated and ventilated seats, household outlet, 12V outlet, USB ports, vents on top, and sunshades. And with this Calligraphy, you do get microfiber suede headliner as well. I'm 5'10" and I have at least 6 to 8 inches of legroom and 3 to 4 inches of headroom. And the seats do slide forward and backwards and also recline. Moving up front, the Palisade's cabin is very luxury car-like, from the floating shelf design to the large digital screens to the use of aluminum. The steering wheel has a very nice design and the Calligraphy upgrades the leather to perforated leather. Buttons on the right control adaptive cruise control and menu items within the gauge cluster. Buttons on the left is for volume, phone, and voice controls and also music modes. The gauge cluster is one big 12-inch screen. Digital speedometer, tachometer are displayed as well as the fuel and temperature gauge. The middle can be changed to display different things such as your compass, fuel economy, and lane assist. And within the tachometer, you can also see similar things and other things such as TPMS, trip computer, and drive modes. On the left side of the steering wheel, you have 2 memory seats, buttons for the dimmer, blind spot monitor, and lane assist, traction control, power trunk, and a power brake release. This is a good shot of the new quilted leather on the door panels. Moving to the large 10-inch infotainment screen, it's very big and responsive. The home screen can display different widgets and is completely customizable. This reminds me a lot of the BMW iDrive setup. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are both standard. With this Calligraphy, you also get a surround view monitor, which is very nice. You get a 360 view of what's around your Palisade and various views of what's behind you. Beneath the infotainment screen, you have a strip of aluminum buttons for navigating the infotainment screen, including knobs for scrolling and volume. Moving to the floating shelf, you have climate controls on top, knobs for the temperatures, and buttons for fan speed, defroster options, etc. Below, you have a push-button style shifter, and next to it, you have an auto hold for brakes, and a large knob for drive modes. There are many to choose from: Sport, Comfort, Eco, and Snow. There's also a center locking differential option in the middle. To the right, you have buttons for the engine auto start-stop function, hill descent, parking sensors, and camera. Lastly, you have a row of buttons for ventilated and heated seats, as well as a heated steering wheel. Below the sliding cover, you have a wireless charging pad and 2 cup holders that actually fold back to generate more storage space if needed. Inside the armrest, you have a USB port and a 12V outlet and a lot of storage space. Moving on top, you do have home link buttons within the rear view mirror. And lastly, you have controls for the dual power moonroofs. Alright, I'm off. Let's see how good this brand new Palisade Calligraphy is on the road and how it drives. Now, I reviewed a 2020 Hyundai Palisade last year, and that was the limited, and that was a top trim level at that time. And I fell in love with the Palisade after that review because it pretty much did everything well. I mean, honestly, there was like no weakness to the Palisade. Very, very, very little. And that is why it sits at the top of the mid-size segment on driversonlyrankings.com. For this Calligraphy, I expect more of the same. You know, very little things have been changed on the Calligraphy versus the limited, but they're significant enough so that some buyers will probably look at a Calligraphy. So as for the changes, I pretty much mentioned most of it already, so I'm not going to repeat everything. But to sum up, the outside is more or less cosmetic stuff, right? A few things changed, the bumper design changed, LED lights changed a little bit, you get new wheels. Now on the inside, you can make an argument that, yeah, the changes are significant enough to warrant the price increase. For example, the steering wheel. Steering wheel has been updated, although it's hard to tell. The leather on here is now perforated leather rather than standard leather. Another small little change, the quilted leather on the door panels. Yes, they look fantastic and they match the seats now. So that's a little bit of an upgrade. So from a visual standpoint, when you sit into a Calligraphy, you look at the door panels, you're like, wow, that looks good. This looks like a luxury car, right? So visually, yeah, it does look better. So slight changes like that. Also, the liner, the roof liner or headliner is now like a microfiber suede, which looks good and it feels good. But for the most part, in terms of utility, practicality, the drive, you know, the power, fuel economy, all that has not changed. And that's a good thing because it's pretty much perfect already. Since I'm coming to a stop, let me talk about brakes first. Brakes is good. It's what you expect. The Palisade comes to a stop, you know, with no surprises. The pedal, the feel is linear. There's no sudden jerk or anything like that. So the brakes are really good and the brake feel is good too. Visibility is fantastic. Forward, sides, back. The windows are all nice and big. I can see well past the hood. Mirrors are also big. The rear window is big too. Even with the headrest up, they don't really block anything. So visibility all around is very, very good. Driving position is also good. This is a mid-size SUV. I'm sitting high up, good commanding view. So no complaints there. These seats are really, really comfortable. Not only do they look good because they have that quilted leather design on there, the leather feels good. The cushion also feels very good. It's very, very comfortable. I really like these seats. And they have good bolstering, and the bottom cushion is not very aggressive, so my thighs are not jammed against bolsters or anything like that. It's really comfortable. And because they're leather, You know, it could get hot sometimes. Ventilated seats is standard in here, so that's not an issue. And you know, that's surprising because even on luxury cars that cost $20,000 or $30,000 more, ventilated seats are still an optional feature, where on this Calligraphy, it's standard. And of course, heated seats as well, and heated steering wheel. What also makes the drive comfortable is the amount of space in here, because it feels so big and airy in here. I got done testing a few full-size SUVs recently, like a Yukon and the Tahoe, so I'm quite familiar how big full-size SUVs are. This really stretches the limits of a mid-size SUV. It is very wide, and because of it, there's so much room between the center console and my right leg, and so much room between the door panel and my left leg. There's just a ton of room. The seats are also ultra wide. No problems with headroom. I'm talking about what, 8 inches of headroom. So in terms of space, yeah, you get plenty of it. And because of it, it feels very airy. You don't feel claustrophobic. You don't feel like you're being squished by any means. And that also adds to the drive. It makes you feel more comfortable. The steering is a little bit lighter. This is one of the things I like about the Telluride over the Palisade is the steering. The steering on the Telluride is a little bit, it has a little more heft. But this one is a little bit lighter. For most people, I would say they're not gonna complain. I think this is still a good weight for most people. But it's very precise, very, very precise. So slight wiggle in the steering wheel in terms of play, but not that bad. So you do get a really precise steering, a decent weight to it, and overall, I can't complain. The steering wheel, I talked about it too. It feels fantastic, so I think a lot of people are going to enjoy the steering feel. Now, as for suspension, also good. You know, around town with these imperfections, the little dips and little potholes here and there, it's doing its thing. This Palisade feels quite comfortable. It's soaking up the bumps. The road manners also good. When I'm taking harder corners and bends, suspension is limiting body roll as much as it can. Of course, there's still gonna be some, but it's quite good. Cabin noise in here is quite good. Well insulated. You know, there's no wind noise at all. Road noise, slightly, and cars passing by, nothing. And really nothing from the exhaust. Very little from the engine too, unless you're really flooring it. So overall, it's a very quiet ride. One cool feature that you have in here, you know how this is such a big SUV. Your kids could be in the third row and you want to yell at them or talk to them or whatever, and they just don't hear you or pay attention. There's something called passenger talk. So you can record a message and then the Palisade will play what you just said through the rear speakers. It pipes it back there. Now the heads-up display is also good. It's in your face, very bright. You could adjust what you want to see. Of course, the basic stuff, miles per hour, speed limit, what's on your radio, navigation directions, all that stuff is on the heads-up display. The one thing that I wish Hyundai put on here on the dash is a button to turn it off, because sometimes you just don't need it. Sometimes it's a little distracting. You don't want to see, you want to turn it off. And it took me a while to go into the settings and go under vehicle settings, and then I see enable heads-up display to turn it off. So it's a little distracting to be able to like fumble through here to turn it off. As for safety features, everything you could think of. There's sensors front and rear. Of course, there's emergency braking, warning, pedestrian warning, also lane assist and blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. And Hyundai added a few more things. For example, it could detect if you have children in the back, right? There's an ultrasonic sensor that detects if there's children or pets in the back. So in case you forget, this Palisade will warn you. Also, if your kids are trying to open the door and there's an oncoming car, it will also warn you. Just test the acceleration. That was about 25, 30 to about 60. I couldn't go all the way. As you guys saw, there was cars in the way. But overall, it's what I remember. It was adequate. This V6 engine, quite adequate. It's not the slowest SUV, not the quickest SUV, and this transmission does a good job. It does a good job shifting, downshifting when it needs to around town. It doesn't feel very busy. It's not always hunting for gears. It doesn't make the Palisade feel bogged down. So the drivetrain is quite good. On this Calligraphy also, all-wheel drive is standard. So you can't select a front-wheel drive, and that's a good thing. And of course, you still have the drive modes, right? You got Comfort, Eco, Sport, and also you have the center locking differential option. So in case you want to, maximize grip, you want to distribute the torque front and back, say you're stuck in snow or something, you could turn that on. So that's always good. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I kind of expected this Calligraphy to behave the same way as the Limited I tested out last year. As for usability, practicality, acceleration, the feel, everything about this Calligraphy pretty much is identical. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a really good thing, because now I'm reminded once again how good this Palisade is. It really is a step above, or 2 steps, or maybe even a mile ahead of the competition. Next, let me talk about pricing and give you my final thoughts on this brand new Palisade Calligraphy. There are 4 trim levels to the 2021 Palisade, and the Calligraphy is the top trim level that you can choose, and it comes in at $47,750. There are no packages to select for additional features. You pretty much get it all. To conclude, the 2021 Palisade Calligraphy adds on a few little touches to the Palisade Limited to make it even closer to the luxury segment. The Palisade is very spacious in all rows, has all the tech, safety, and standard features family want, drives well, is comfortable and quiet, and has one of the best, if not the best, design cabin of any SUV in this segment. As for the bad, the Palisade Calligraphy's looks is subjective, and some may not like the futuristic look, and the price is coming in around $48,000. That's about it. I'm giving the 2021 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy a score of 105. To see where it ranks, check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching, hit the like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews, first looks, and news.